Have you ever watched someone walk into a room and instantly connect with everyone? It's not magic. It's a skill you can learn, and it starts with one thing most people completely miss. The foundation of all meaningful conversation isn't confidence or charisma. It's genuine curiosity. When you're truly curious about someone, everything changes. Your body language shifts. Your questions improve. Your anxiety disappears. Because here's the truth. Conversation isn't about performing. It's about discovery. Most people make the fundamental mistake of thinking they need to be interesting. But the most magnetic people aren't those who speak brilliantly. They're those who listen intently. They approach each person like a book they can't wait to read. Instead of asking, "What do you do?" try, "What's been keeping you busy lately that you're excited about?" Notice the difference? The first question asks for a job title. The second invites a story about passion. When someone responds, lean in slightly, maintain gentle eye contact, and ask follow-up questions that go deeper into what interests them. This shift from self-focus to curiosity instantly transforms how people respond to you. When someone feels genuinely interesting to you, they'll remember how you made them feel long after they've forgotten what you said. We've all been trapped in conversations where the other person just waits for their turn to speak. The relief when someone actually listens is universal. Here is a screenshot-worthy insight. Charisma isn't about being impressive, it's about being impressed. The moment you shift from "how do I look" to "what can I discover," everything changes. It's funny how we'll spend hours researching restaurants online but won't spend 30 seconds being curious about the actual humans sitting across from us. "How's the salmon here?" gets more thought than, "How are you really doing?" Chapter 1. First Impressions, the 3-second rule. There's a 3-second window that determines how every interaction will unfold. Miss it, and you're fighting uphill. Nail it, and everything that follows becomes easier. The first 3 seconds of any interaction set the emotional foundation. In those critical moments, people aren't judging your words, they're reading your energy. The key is what I call presence before content, being fully there before worrying about what to say. Here's how it works. Before speaking, take a full breath. Make deliberate eye contact. Offer a genuine smile that reaches your eyes. This sequence signals to the other person's brain, "I see you. I'm with you. You matter." When meeting someone, instead of immediately launching into, "Hi, I'm..." Pause, breathe, connect with your eyes, smile, and then speak. The difference is subtle but profound. You're communicating on an emotional level before a single word is exchanged. In group settings, acknowledge everyone with your eyes before speaking to anyone specifically. This simple act completely changes how the room responds to you. This 3-second investment pays dividends throughout the entire conversation. It establishes psychological safety that allows for deeper connection later. And it immediately differentiates you from the 95% of people who rush through introductions on autopilot. We've all felt the difference between being truly seen and being processed. That moment when someone looks at you like you're the only person in the room matters so much. Remember this. The quality of your attention determines the quality of your connection. 3 seconds of complete presence is worth more than 3 minutes of distracted conversation. You know how dogs get extremely excited when you just look at them? We behave similarly with each other. We're all just waiting for someone to be genuinely happy to see us without checking their phone in the middle of our sentence. Chapter 2. The Art of Meaningful Pause. What you think is awkward silence is actually your most powerful tool. Most people rush to fill every gap in conversation. Masters of communication do the opposite. Silence creates space for meaning to emerge. When you learn to embrace strategic pauses, 3 things happen. The other person reveals more. Your responses improve dramatically. And the conversation develops emotional depth. The key is distinguishing between uncomfortable silence and meaningful pause. The first comes from anxiety. The second comes from intention. When you pause with confidence, you transform the energy of the interaction. After asking an important question, count to 3 in your mind before responding to what they say. This gives them space to elaborate and signals that you're actually processing their words. Similarly, after someone shares something significant, don't rush to fill the space. A thoughtful nod and a moment of silence honors what they've shared. This single gesture will immediately distinguish your conversational style. People will feel heard at a deeper level because you're giving their words room to breathe. And you'll find yourself responding from wisdom rather than reaction. In a culture of interruption and constant noise, the ability to create calm space in conversation is increasingly rare and valuable. Here's a counterintuitive truth. The less you fear silence, the more people will want to talk to you. Rushing to fill every gap signals insecurity. Comfortable pauses signal confidence. We've reached the point where 2 seconds of silence in conversation feels like an eternity. Like that. Uncomfortable, right? Our ancestors would spend hours in comfortable silence around fires. We get nervous waiting for text bubbles. Chapter 3. Beyond small talk. High-value questions that create depth. There's a specific type of question that instantly transforms shallow exchange into meaningful conversation. Most people never learn to ask it. High-value questions invite stories, not facts. They create space for emotion, not just information. The structure is simple but powerful. Ask about processes, transitions, and feelings rather than status or data. Instead of, "What do you do?" try, "What part of your work lights you up lately?" Instead of, "Been here before?" try, "What's your story with this place?" These questions bypass the social autopilot and invite authentic sharing. The key principle: questions that begin with what or how typically create more conversational space than those beginning with do or is, which can be answered with a simple yes or no. When meeting someone new, instead of the standard, "Where are you from?" try, "What's something about where you grew up that shaped who you are?" Or instead of, "Have any plans this weekend?" ask, "What are you looking forward to right now?" Notice how these questions invite reflection rather than recitation. High-value questions don't just improve that one conversation. They change how people see you. You become someone who sees beneath the surface, who creates space for authentic connection in a world of superficial exchange. We've all been stuck in endless loops of, "How are you?" "Fine. You?" "Good." The relief when someone asks something that actually invites real conversation is universal. Remember, people don't connect over perfect questions. They connect over shared humanity. Your questions simply create the space for that humanity to emerge. It's ironic that we'll willingly share our location data with random apps, but get uncomfortable when someone asks a slightly personal question in conversation. "Where I grew up?" That's private information. But sure, Google Maps. Track my every movement. Chapter 4. Reading the room, the hidden language of conversation. What if I told you there's an entire conversation happening beneath the words? A language most people miss completely, but that controls every interaction. Reading the room isn't mystical, it's methodical. It's about tuning into 3 channels simultaneously: body language, emotional tone, and conversational energy. Body language provides context. Notice shifts in posture, micro-expressions, and eye movement. Emotional tone reveals underlying feelings. Listen for changes in voice pitch, pace, and volume. Conversational energy shows engagement. Pay attention to response time, elaboration, and question reciprocation. The key insight? These signals often contradict the actual words being spoken, and when there's contradiction, trust the nonverbal every time. When someone says, "That's interesting," while leaning back with crossed arms, they're signaling disagreement or discomfort. Rather than continuing your point, try, "I sense I might have missed something there. What are your thoughts?" This acknowledges the hidden conversation and creates space for honesty. Similarly, when you notice someone's eyes light up mid-conversation, even briefly, that's a cue to explore that topic further. That momentary spark indicates you've touched on something meaningful. Reading these subtle cues allows you to navigate conversations with almost supernatural precision. You'll know when to dig deeper, when to pivot, when to support, and when to challenge, often before the other person consciously realizes their own state. We've all had the experience of sensing something unspoken in a conversation. That intuition isn't random. It's your brain processing thousands of subtle signals that most people ignore. The most important parts of any conversation are never said out loud. Learn to listen with your eyes, and you'll hear what most people miss entirely. It's funny how we'll analyze a text message for hours, Does a period mean they're mad? What do those 3 dots mean? But put us in a room with someone sending dozens of physical signals, and suddenly we're completely oblivious. They seemed fine. No, they were blinking in Morse code for help. Chapter 5. The Conversational Boomerang. Always knowing what to say next. Never worry about what to say next again. This one technique guarantees you'll always have the perfect response in any conversation with anyone. The conversational boomerang is a 3-step process that creates natural flow. Receive, reflect, return. When someone shares something, first receive it completely. Then reflect a key element to show understanding. Finally, return a related insight or question that moves the conversation forward. The magic happens in the reflection step. By mirroring back a key word, phrase, or feeling, you create a powerful connection bridge. This isn't just repeating, it's highlighting what matters most in what they shared. If someone says, "Work has been challenging lately with all the new projects," you might respond, "New projects creating challenges? What's been the most unexpected part of that?" Notice how you reflected the key elements, new projects, challenges, and returned with a question that invites deeper exploration. The formula works in any context. Sounds like that vacation was exactly what you needed. What moment from the trip stands out most now that you're back? This approach accomplishes 3 things simultaneously. It shows you're truly listening. It validates their experience. And it creates natural conversation flow without awkward transitions or topic jumps. We've all had that moment of panic when we don't know what to say next. This simple technique completely eliminates that fear by using the other person's words as your conversational compass. The secret to never running out of things to say isn't having more clever lines. It's paying closer attention to what's already being said. Everything you need for the next great question is hidden in their last response. It's ironic that we stress about keeping the conversation going, when most people are practically begging for someone to actually listen to what they're already saying. It's like frantically searching for your keys while they're in your hand the whole time. And hey, if you found this video helpful, make sure to hit like and subscribe. I'd love to hear your thoughts, so drop a comment below. Chapter 6. Navigating difficult conversations with grace. The conversations we fear most are often the ones we need most. Here's how to move through them with confidence and connection intact. Difficult conversations become transformative when you change your goal from winning to understanding. The framework called Bridge Before Barrier creates safety before addressing challenges. Start by establishing common ground, a shared value, goal, or concern. Use I statements to express your experience without accusation. Ask genuine questions that invite perspective rather than defense. And critically, acknowledge their viewpoint before offering your own. Instead of, "You're always late, it's disrespectful." Try, "I value our time together," common ground. And I've noticed a pattern of starting later than planned. Observation without judgment. I find myself feeling anxious when waiting. Personal impact. What's your perspective on our meeting times? This approach creates psychological safety that allows real dialogue about the issue rather than triggering defensive reactions. Mastering difficult conversations doesn't just solve problems, it deepens relationships. When you can navigate challenging territories with grace, you build trust that strengthens all interactions. And you develop confidence that allows you to address issues early, before they grow into larger conflicts. In a world where difficult topics are often avoided or approached with hostility, the ability to create space for honest, respectful dialogue is increasingly valuable. The most powerful phrase in difficult conversations is simply, "Help me understand." Not as a challenge, but as a genuine request. These 3 words create space for insight where arguments create walls. It's funny how we'll practice a difficult conversation 47 times in our head, and somehow the real version never follows that script. It's like rehearsing a dance routine just to discover your partner is doing the Macarena while you're attempting ballet. Chapter 7. Digital Communication. Translating connection across channels. Digital communication isn't just a different medium, it's a different language. Here's how to maintain authentic connection when you can't see expressions or hear tone. The challenge of digital communication is the absence of nonverbal cues that typically carry 70% of meaning. To compensate, we need deliberate practices that rebuild that missing emotional bandwidth. The key principle is increasing clarity to prevent misinterpretation. Be more explicit about tone. Provide more context for requests. Check understanding more frequently. And match your medium to your message. Complex or emotional topics generally deserve synchronous communication. Instead of a text saying, "We need to talk about the project," which could trigger anxiety, try, "I have a few thoughts about how we might approach the timeline for the project. Do you have 15 minutes to discuss tomorrow?" Nothing urgent. Notice how the additional context and explicit tone indicator completely changes the emotional impact. Similarly, for important conversations, consider beginning video calls with a brief connection moment before diving into content. A simple, "How's your energy today?" creates context that would be naturally visible in person. As more of our relationships move into digital spaces, mastering these principles doesn't just improve clarity, it maintains humanity. You become someone who creates psychological safety across all channels, bridging the natural disconnection that technology can create. We've all experienced that moment of panic when a message is misinterpreted or tone is completely lost. These principles help prevent those misunderstandings before they occur. Digital communication doesn't have to mean disconnection. The key is being twice as explicit about what would be automatically conveyed in person. Context, intention, and emotion. It's amazing how we evolved over millions of years to read the subtlest facial expressions, and now we're trying to convey complex emotions with combinations of punctuation and emoji. "I'm not mad. See the exclamation point? That means I'm fine." Chapter 8. The Power of Presence. Being fully in conversation. There's a quality some people bring to conversation that makes you feel like the only person in the world. It's not charisma. It's presence. And it can be developed. Conversational presence is the ability to be fully here, now, with this person, in this moment. It's increasingly rare in a distracted world, which makes it increasingly powerful when you cultivate it. The practice has 3 components. Physical presence, your body is still, your devices are away, your eyes are engaged. Mental presence, your attention isn't wandering to the past or future. Emotional presence, you're allowing yourself to be affected by the exchange. The key insight is this: presence isn't passive. It's an active, moment-by-moment choice to continuously return your attention to the person before you. Before important conversations, take 3 deep breaths and set a clear intention to be fully present. During the interaction, when you notice your mind wandering, gently bring it back by focusing on the sensory experience, the sound of their voice, the expression in their eyes. And physically remove distractions that pull at your attention, especially your phone. In a world of constant partial attention, full presence is a rare gift. When you develop this capacity, you don't just have better conversations, you create moments of genuine connection that stand out in people's lives. And you experience the profound satisfaction that comes from truly meeting another human being beyond the surface. We've all felt the difference between being truly seen and being merely tolerated. That feeling of someone being completely with you, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally, is becoming increasingly rare and precious. The quality of your presence determines the quality of your relationships. 5 minutes of full attention creates more connection than an hour of distraction. It's ironic that we now need to schedule quality time when all time was supposed to be quality. Sorry I wasn't listening to you for the first hour. This next 15 minutes is our designated meaningful conversation slot. Chapter 9. The Golden Thread. Maintaining authentic connection everywhere. What if there was a single principle that worked in every conversation, whether with a stranger, a partner of 30 years, or a difficult colleague? There is. It's called the Golden Thread. The Golden Thread is the principle of authentic curiosity combined with generous attention. It's the consistent choice to be genuinely interested in understanding the person before you, without agenda or performance. This principle works universally because it addresses the core human desire to be seen, heard, and valued. It transcends cultural differences, personality types, and relationship contexts because it connects to what makes us fundamentally human. The practice is simple but transformative. Approach each interaction with the question, "Who is this person and what can I learn from them?" rather than "How am I being perceived?" When meeting someone new, instead of mentally preparing what you'll say about yourself, become curious about their experience. With a long-term partner, practice asking questions as if you're still discovering them. In conflict, get genuinely curious about their perspective rather than focused on defending your own. In each case, the golden thread of curiosity and attention creates connection where techniques alone cannot. This principle doesn't just improve individual conversations. It transforms your entire experience of human connection. You begin to see each interaction as an opportunity for discovery rather than performance. And you develop the rare capacity to create meaningful connection in any context, with any person. In a world that often feels increasingly divided and isolated, the ability to create authentic connection across differences isn't just personally valuable, it's socially essential. Remember this: the difference between small talk and great conversation isn't your techniques, it's your intention. Genuine curiosity can compensate for almost any conversational mistake. Perfect techniques without authentic interest fall flat. It's funny that we have thousands of books on conversation skills. When children naturally master the golden thread, they ask endless questions and give undivided attention to what interests them. Somewhere along the way, we replaced curiosity with concern about looking good. Maybe the secret is just being more like our 5-year-old selves, minus the booger questions. The ability to talk to anyone, anytime, anywhere, isn't about having the right lines or techniques. It's about bringing a consistent quality of presence and curiosity to each interaction. When you combine the skills we've explored, strategic pauses, high-value questions, emotional awareness, presence, with the golden thread of genuine interest, you transform not just your conversations, but your experience of being human. Because at its heart, conversation isn't just about exchanging information. It's about the rare and beautiful opportunity to witness another person's inner world and to have your own witnessed in return. In a world of increasing disconnection, that's not just a skill, it's a superpower.